So, John, let me begin by asking, how does it feel to make your directorial debut with They Them?
Oh, it feels tremendous. I've had a lifetime of sitting on the set next to Martin Scorsese and Ridley Scott and Sam Mendes and Tim Burton, and seeing the way they maneuver through the world, to get to try to sit in the big chair myself was a real joy.
Good, good. And what did you take away from this experience?
Well, I mean, it's I took away the fact that I wouldn't mind doing it again, because it was very fulfilling, to
Yeah,
work with the actors so closely and to help build the whole world.
for sure. And I've read that the idea for this movie has been germinating in your mind for many years. So, what was the initial inspiration behind the story, and why did you finally decide to adapt it into a film?
It was, yeah, I've been a horror fan since I was six, since I could first watch Dracula and Frankenstein on a black and white TV back in San Pedro, California. But horror has a really complicated relationship with gender and with sexual identity. And when I was growing up, queer characters were mostly non-existent.
Yeah.
And if they did exist, they were victims, they were jokes, they were never the hero. And I know how much it would have meant to me to see a queer hero in a horror movie.
Mhm.
So I've been thinking about that for a long time, and turning it around and thinking about the tropes, particularly the slasher movie, like The Final Girl and The Camp in the Woods and The Masked Killer. And then COVID happened, and myself, like every other writer I know, had a chance to write something fresh, something from their heart.
Yeah,
And so I wrote this.
great. And ultimately, what do you hope audiences take away from the film?
I think more than anything, the film means to be a celebration of these queer kids
Mhm.
and to sort of recognize the fact that we as a society are stronger for all the individual people we can celebrate. And these characters come together with pride and with strength. And it's sort of a glorious thing to see queer characters triumph
Mhm.
so strongly. So I hope that's very uplifting for audiences.
Definitely. And do you believe they slash them is timely for today's pop culture climate?
Absolutely. I mean, not only the pop culture climate, just the social climate, because we live in a moment where queer rights are being threatened, human rights are being threatened everywhere you turn, not only in America but around the world. And
Mhm.
so, to be able to tell a story that celebrates difference, that celebrates the idea that you are effing perfect just the way you are, and
Mhm.
realize that, and be prideful of that, and joyous about that, I think is very timely. And thankfully, horror has been embracing queer stories,
Yeah,
in a really exciting way in the last 5 or 10 years. So I'm glad to be able to build on the work who've people who've come before me and hopefully open the door for some new people.
for sure. And they slash them has a stellar cast and crew. What was it like working with everyone else?
It was amazing. It starts with Kevin Bacon because, when I started writing the character of Owen Whistler, Kevin just kept coming into my head. His voice and his personality, because Kevin has that incredible ability to go from utterly charming to absolutely terrifying. And that's what the character had to do. And so I just couldn't get Kevin out of my head as I was writing. And thankfully, Kevin liked the part and saw the point of the movie and ended up doing it. So he was our great company leader from day one. And the protagonist of the film is Jordan, the character that Theo Germain plays. And the movie begins and ends with Jordan's face. So as soon as I met Theo Germain, I knew I had a protagonist, and
Yeah,
they brought such intelligence and heart to the part that it was always every day on the set with Theo was incredibly fulfilling.
awesome, amazing. May I take a screenshot for social media purposes?
Of course.
I'll give you a countdown. One, two, three. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, John. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.